Nausicaa of the Valley of the Wind, written and drawn by Hayao Miyazaki, and the Moomin comics, written and drawn by Tove Jansson, are two of my all-time favorite works in the comics medium. So my gushing adoration of both is one of the things that these comics have in common, and in this episode of For the Love of Comics, I'm going to talk about half a dozen others. Both of these comics aren't originally in English. Nausicaa was originally written and published in Japanese, while the Moomin comics were originally written in Swedish. Although from what I've read online, Moomin was almost immediately translated by the author's brother Lars for publication in an English language newspaper. Ostensibly, Moomin and Nausicaa may be more famous across the world in other non-comics mediums. Nausicaa is perhaps more known to people as a Japanese animated movie or anime from Studio Ghibli, and the Moomin's world and characters may be more widely recognized through prose and illustrated books as well as TV shows and movies. Coincidentally, and you can take this as a number 5.5 that they have in common, these other media works, the movie, the prose books, are also from the same creator as their comics. Hayao Miyazaki based his movie on his own manga, adapting essentially the first half of the comic, and Tove Jansson based her Moomin characters and world on the world that she had created in books that she had written and illustrated. Miyazaki would, of course, rise to legendary status as a filmmaker and very rarely worked in manga again. And even Tove stopped working on the Moomin comics to focus more on the books, but leaving the strips in the very capable hands of her brother Lars. In that way, both of these gems are even more unique. Even though they took many years each, they remain the only significant work of comics by their extremely talented creators. Both Nausicaa and the Moomin comics have been published in a variety of formats in English. Nausicaa was published as 27 single issues, 4 deluxe hardcovers, 10 trade paperbacks, and many more. I haven't read it in any of those forms and don't own any of them. Moomin was spectacularly revived by Canadian publisher Drawn and Quarterly, who brought out individual stories in standalone color books, as well as 10 volumes of slim, large-sized hardcovers for the complete Tove Jansson strips. But another thing these comics have in common is they're available in these complete box sets. Viz Media published this 2-volume box set of Nausicaa, collecting the entire epic in a pleasing, large but readable format, an edition that truly pays respect and gives the comic its due. Very similarly, Drawn and Quarterly published a complete Moomin, the Tove Jansson stories, in this wonderful slip-cased ribboned hardcover, an edition that collects not only every strip written and drawn by Jansson, and a couple drawn by her but written by her brother, but also a treasure trove of drawings, sketches, notes, and behind-the-scenes material that only amplifies the magic of the comic. Both are terrific comics, no matter which format you choose to read them in, but I just love the care taken in the design and the presentation of these two sets. The settings or world of both Moomin and Nausicaa are arguably fantasy worlds, making both of these comics in some way or the other fantasy comics. In Nausicaa, this fantasy is blended with science fiction because the story is set in a post-apocalyptic Earth, poisoned after a technological war, with small pockets of humanity surviving, surrounded by toxic and encroaching forests. Nausicaa, the titular hero, is a princess of one surviving tribe, and the story is her epic quest for survival, leadership, and reconciliation between the various opposing forces in her world. Moomin Valley, the main location for the Moomin comics, is a lot more whimsical. The fantasy world is less created through alien structures, politics, or forces, and more through its inhabitants. Moomin is short for Moomin Troll, and the Moomin family resemble most of all small hippos walking upright. But the dizzying cast of characters range from fairy tale creatures to anthropomorphized animals. And although many of the crises that these characters deal with seem everyday and recognizable, the logic and relationships between them is closer to dream logic, making the light fantasy a crucial element in the tone of these stories. Both Nausicaa and Moomin love and explore first and foremost their characters, which means that the plot or plots, which both of these comics have plenty of, is set off, complicated, and resolved always because of the behaviors, personalities, and decisions of the characters. Nausicaa, the princess at the center of the story, is a brave but sensitive person, someone who questions and examines things beyond what others around her do. Her quest and eventual fate feels less like destiny and more like a personal achievement, an achievement born of curiosity, open-heartedness, and self-examination. She grows and challenges herself and others around her, and even those around her are shown to have deep and relatable thinking of their own. Against a backdrop of global calamity and near extinction, this focus on personal ideologies and behavior gives Nausicaa a true sense of urgency, reflection, and triumph. Each character in the Moomin comics is also fiercely individual and independent, and they drive the twists and the turns of the story in every case. Larger forces and events may serve for setting, but it is the endearing, odd, and particular characters of these comics that are the reason you turn the pages. Each character is consistent, but never fails to surprise us or to make us laugh. They openly declare their likes and their dislikes, their fears and their priorities, and the choices they make always seem reasonable even when they don't seem sensible. The singular focus on having the story's inhabitants be the sole drivers and be the causes for what happens, and keeping them consistent while also having them learn and grow and accept, this is a unique focus that both of these comics have in common. And finally, the standout feature for me that these two comics have in common is their incredible empathy, tolerance, and acceptance of human nature. Nausicaa, most obviously, is about humans in the largest scale, the fate of humanity. And the princess and the others around her represent the best and the worst humanity could be, with both seeming comprehensible and possible. Being an environmental tale, it is very much about how humanity lives with the world, alongside and within it. But it is also about questioning, thinking, learning, and making new ideas. Among Nausicaa's many themes, there is the examination of our extremes as humans, the good that we can do, and the incredible bad. But it is only in accepting seemingly opposing forces, Nausicaa seems to say, that true balance can be found. Now, where Nausicaa looks at the best and the worst that humanity can be, Moomin looks at everything in between. The peculiar and odd characters are all lovingly embraced by this comic. Pettiness, selfishness, fear, these all play prominent roles. Moomin explores sadness in a way that feels real, because the characters are so honest about what they feel, and the stories never stoop to simply punishing or rewarding their behaviors, instead allowing them to change their minds. They are presented for laughs, but warm, accepting laughs. The Moomin stories feel as if they look at humans, although there aren't really any humans in these stories. They look at humans with all their faults and silliness and prejudices and pokes fun at them, but never villainizes them. The fact that good and evil, right and wrong aren't so cut and dry in our world, that our world is made up of all kinds of ideas and all kinds of fears, these truths being central to both of these comics is one of the many things that makes them both, in my opinion, absolute masterpieces. I hope you enjoyed this quick and slightly different type of video. If you'd like a deeper dive into either Moomin or Nausicaa or these particular editions, let me know in the comments below. If you like this 6 things in common format and you have suggestions for which other comics I could maybe attempt this with, let me know in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching. This has been For the Love of Comics, and I'll see you at the next video.